So locomotion and movement. So what is locomotion? Locomotion is the voluntary movements resulting in a change in locomotion. The movement of organism from one place to the another place, we say that as locomotion. So types of movements in human being: amoeboid movement, ciliary movement, muscular movement. Amoeboid movement, we will see that by pseudopodia. That means in our blood, macrophages and leukocytes, cytoskeletal elements like microfilaments, they are all going to show the movement with pseudopodia. We say that as amoeboid movement. Ciliary movement by cilia. That ciliary movements in trachea, ciliary movements in female reproductive tract, and muscular movement. Muscular movements that we have to discuss in that by muscles. The movement of limbs, tongue, and jaw. The human muscular system. Human muscular system. Okay, so it includes muscles which are mesodermal in origin. It includes muscles which are mesodermal in origin. Muscle constitute 40 to 50% of the body weight. What are the properties of the muscles here? Muscles have excitability, contractility, and extensibility, elasticity. Muscles have excitability, contractility, extensibility, and elasticity. Did you observe? Muscles have contraction capacity, but there is no expansion. There is no expansion. We use it to say contraction and relaxation. Contraction and relaxation. Okay, so types of muscles: skeletal or striated or voluntary, we say; visceral, non-striated or smooth; cardiac muscles. So let's talk about one after another. The skeletal muscle or striated muscles, we say they have striations. Why they have striations? By the arrangement of thick and thin filaments in regular manner. They are voluntary, in our control. That means controlled by central nervous system, attached to the skeleton. That's why we call them as skeletal muscles. Then rich blood supply is seen over. Rich blood supply. Fatigue muscle. Fatigue muscle undergo fatigue. That I explained yesterday. That technically how, why a muscle, a skeletal muscle undergo fatigue. So I think you have answered. The lactic acid depositions. Depositions of the lactic acid, muscle undergo fatigue. The muscle fiber is multinucleated. Multinucleated condition is because of the fission of many uninucleated that myoblast cells during the embryonic formation. That means one muscle fiber equal to the fission of many uninucleated myoblast cells during embryonic development. That's why you'll find a muscle fiber is in multinucleate condition, and numerous mitochondria are present here. That is to provide the ATP energy. Let's come to the smooth muscles or visceral muscles. Why they are called visceral muscles? Because they are found in visceral organs like alimentary canal, then reproductive tract, urinary bladder. You may have some exceptions like iris muscles of the eyeball. That is not viscera, but most of these muscles are present in visceral organs. Striations are absent. Why? Because thick and thin filament arranged in irregular manner. Involuntary in nature. Involuntary in nature. Okay, that involuntary, that means they are not controlled by central nervous system. Autonomous nervous system control is there. Poor blood supply. Why? Poor blood supply. Because like skeletal muscle, these muscles no need to work faster. And non-fatigue. Non-fatigue. Why? Because we have technical answers now. That means we are not here for first time. That last 1 week, that with the various dimensions we learn the muscle contraction. That's why these particular lines and sentences, those who are new, that those who entered today, they may have a little problem here. But by watching the previous videos, you will get some idea. But now we are talking technically. That because the effort we paid in the last classes, because of that particular effort, that we can talk technically now. Like striations are absent. We have seen the arrangement of thick and thin filament, like that I band with only thin filament, A band with thick filaments and thin filament except head zone, and only thick filaments in the head zone. This is called regular arrangement that you will find in skeletal muscles only. So that in case of visceral muscle, that kind of regular the arrangement is not there. That's why we say striations are absent. Then why does striations comes here? How many striations will come there? That you can say. That means when you see the total muscle, in case of skeletal muscle, when you see the total muscle, we'll find three striations, isn't it? How? That means the area with only thin filaments is a lighter area. The area with thick filament, that is means head zone, is a little darker area. Then the area aband except head zone is only both having both thick and thin filament is more darker area, isn't it or not? That we say striations. Okay. So that kind of arrangement is not there in case of visceral muscle. That's why striations are absent. What I am saying here, now we are talking all these things technically, involuntary, because of our previous the worked out sessions. Now we are talking technically involuntary, that not in our control, found in visceral organ. That see this elementary canal, they show the rhythmic movement, peristaltic movements, isn't it? They don't work faster, that you can feel when you start. Here this is your hand, you can take faster the food materials into your buccal cavity. So buccal cavity is in your that voluntary area, you can chew faster. You can deglutition, what do you say, engulfing inside is much faster. But from here onwards you can't do anything. Esophagus onwards, which muscles are present, visceral muscles, they show they don't go work fast. We can't say they are working fast. They work in their own style. That means that peristaltic movements will occur like a slow wave. So at the time we say oxygen depth won't come for them, isn't it or not? Oxygen depth, what is oxygen depth? That we have seen in the previous class. That means when you're working fast, oxygen may not be sufficient for you. That's why they go for anaerobic process. That's why that glycolysis only occurs. That's the reason pyruvic acid appears. That's the reason lactic acid is getting formed. That's the reason why skeletal muscle undergo fatigue, that we discussed in the earlier class, isn't it? Now that when I ask here why the visceral muscles are non-fatigue, so even they have poor blood supply, that means they work slow. When they work slow, they don't require much oxygen. That energy we are supplying, there will be that will be sufficient. No oxygen depth can be created. So that means our view and our angle is changed over because of this. This kind of things we learn in first year also. But after all learning muscle contraction, it will become more productive for us. That means our vision will be changed over. Okay. Non-fatty, that poor blood supply, uninucleate condition, mitochondria are less. So that means with this, we can understand their working style. They work slow, very slow. The cardiac muscle, striations are present here. That means arrangement of skeletal muscle fibers, like such kind of arrangement you will find here also. Involuntary, that there is no control of CNS. That means autonomous nervous system will control this particular. They found in the heart wall, we know that is myocardium, rich blood supply. Yes, they require that 72 times beating minimum required, isn't it? Non-fatigue. If they undergo fatigue, that is heart attack, we say, isn't it? Uninucleate condition. Okay, numerous mitochondria required. That means beat 72 times. Then we made a limit in heartbeat, isn't it? Did you remember that limit we made? That 100 beats per minute, isn't it? 100 beats. Why only 100 beats per minute? We discussed in cardiovascular system. 0.6 seconds, that maximum heart beat can be generated. And we said over the maximum heartbeat for 1 minute, 100 beats only. Why only 100 beats? Imagine more than 100, 150, if it go like that. So what happens? Heart muscles undergo fatigue. Heart muscle. When you are running, your legs undergo fatigue, as I said to you. When you take rest over a period of time, that particular legs is collapsed, big muscles are collapsed, but removing the lactic acid and converting them into glycogen in the liver, we send the glycogen back. Now you are able to walk. Is it possible in case of heart? Heart muscle undergo fatigue, stopped for 10 minutes, and we are removing lactic acid. Is it all possible in case of heart? That's why we made a limit. No limit for your hand. You can, as much as faster you can move, but there is a limit to the heart, because they should not undergo fatigue at least for 1 minute even, because that is the end of the day, we see. So that's why numerous mitochondria are present. Rhythmic movements can be expected. That movements even limited over. that we discussed in a cardiovascular system. And this is a story. Now let's make a comparison of all the three. The skeletal, visceral, and cardiac. Striations wise, that striations are present in both skeletal and cardiac muscle. Then control wise, skeletal and is the voluntary one. Visceral and cardiac have similarity. Both are involuntary. Then that location wise, attached to the skeleton, hence we call skeletal muscle. Present in the visceral organs, visceral muscles or smooth muscles we say. Wall of heart, pericardium. That means, sorry, myocardium we say. The cardiac muscles. Then blood supply wise, the skeletal muscles and cardiac muscles are having a rich blood supply. Then poor blood supply you'll find in visceral muscles, but no matter I said over. No problem at all. The fatigue muscle, that no fatigue for visceral and cardiac muscle. Fatigue muscle, skeletal muscle. Muscle fiber is multinucleate in case of skeletal. Then uninucleate, visceral and cardiac. Very few times you'll find binucleate condition in cardiac muscle fiber. Mitochondria wise, this is very important, very regular question in examination. Need numerous mitochondria in both skeletal and cardiac, less mitochondria in the visceral muscle. Okay. So now we are moving to the structure of striated muscle, that all the effort we made in the last week will make us the side lines. I feel so. You feel that by every line you relate and every line visible you'll get that because of our last classes, that means this session is only for those people who are worked that in about the muscle contraction in stepwise in the last classes. Okay, so that means after all working on that, after all writing answers, that you feel that very comfortable here, isn't it? The skeletal muscle is made of number of muscle bundles held together by fascia, collagenous connective tissue layer, we say fascia. Each fascicle contains number of muscle fibers. Then muscle fibers are lined by plasma membrane, sarcolemma we say, enclosing the sarcoplasm. Each muscle fiber contains parallelly arranged myofilaments or myofibrils. Here this is the diagram, we show you that this is the bone. We said these are the skeletal muscle arranged in the form of bundle. Epimysium, fascicle with perimysium, then that endomysium, sarcolemma, then we are bringing out a muscle fiber out, and that in that muscle fiber we brought out a myofibril. This is a muscle, this is a fascicle, muscle fiber, myofibril with their stripes. Each myofibril has alternative dark bands and light bands, A band and I band. The striations is due to the presence of two fibrous contractile proteins called thin filament and thick filament. Yeah, these kind of diagrams will be so many for you. Today, I'll post the muscle contraction question paper to you, that I'm giving that PDF, that muscle contraction question paper, exclusive on muscle contraction, 45 questions I'll send for you, that with various these kind of diagrams. But whatever the diagram it is, you can recognize only thick, this is head zone, thick and thin, A band except head zone, this is thin, only thin, I band. So that means you practice it, that's over for that muscle contraction. That means no need to revise in future also, that you worked a lot. I appreciate you that nearly 500 questions are there, that you all worked on that. I'm very happy for that. Then you just do this. You write like an examination. That 90% questions you can answer, you will answer. Then the remaining questions, if we take care of, it's okay. Then I bands contain actin. Now let's come into the topic here. Actin filaments are in I band. A band contain both actin and myosin. They are arranged parallel to each other. So A band bears a lighter region at the middle called. Why it is called lighter region? It contains only thick filaments, isn't it? A thin dark line runs to the center of the head zone. What do you say it as? M line. When muscle contracts, actin filaments on either sides partially overlap so that the head zone disappears. Then I band is bisected by a dense dark band called Z line. A dense dark band we call Z line. region between the two jet lines is called sarcomere, successive jet lines. Sarcomeres are the structural and functional unit of a muscle. So that's why we are moving toward the sarcomere and arrangement of that particular sarcomere. This is a text diagram actually. In NCERT you will find this kind of diagram. So talking about the actin, then I think you people are able to recognize individual green balls. What do you say? Globular actin, and all that particular green balls arranged like a filament. What do you say? Filamentous actin. And what is this rope? Red color? Okay, red color. That which covers the active sites of the actin. Who is that? Tropomyosin. Now I know I am moving very much faster, but I think you people will understand. We worked a lot in last classes. Okay, so what is this three group? TNT, TNI, and TNC. So what is the total one? Actin, we say. This actin is shown in the microscope. Let's read out what is given in NCERT. Each actin filament is made of two filamentous actins. They form double helix. Each F actin is a polymer of monomeric globular actins. Monomeric globular actin. Actin filaments contain two other proteins, namely tropomyosin and troponin. Tropomyosin and troponin. Okay. Yes, moving on, the two filaments of tropomyosin run along the grooves of the F-actin double helix. This is F-actin, and above on that we'll find the tropomyosin. The troponin has three subunits. It located at regular intervals on the tropomyosin. These are troponin molecules. Where they are present, there. Where the tropomyosin is covering the active sites, there we'll find it. So in the resting state, a subunit of troponin masks the binding sites for myosin on the actin filaments. Any form of diagram, you see, I'm confident you people will recognize any form of diagram. Each myosin filament is polymer of many monomeric proteins called meromyosin. Each meromyosin has two parts, a globular head, which is called heavy meromyosin, with a short arm, which is called heavy meromyosin. That both head and short arm belongs to the head meromyosin. A tail, light meromyosin. Okay. Then on the head, you'll find the two places. What are they? Actin binding site and ATP binding site. So this is actin binding site and this is ATP binding site. Okay, so then the heavy meromyosin component, we are talking about head and short arm, projects outwards at regular distance and is going to form the cross arm. The globular head is an active ATPase enzyme. It has binding sites for ATP and active sites for actin, that we said now. Then the mechanism of muscle contraction. Mechanism of muscle contraction. According to sliding filament theory, Huxley proposed the sliding filament theory. Contraction of muscle fiber takes place by the sliding of thin filaments over the thick filaments. Okay, then the steps we are talking, a neural signal is the impulse sent by the CNS via motor neuron. A motor neuron plus muscle fiber is called motor unit. Okay, and the impulses reach the neuromuscular junction that we call it as motor end plate. Very, very, very important place, that is motor end plate in examination point of view also, whom we call the motor end plate, sarcolemma. It is the junction between the motor neuron and sarcolemma of the muscle fiber. That means axon terminals and sarcolemma. We say motor end plate. Here it is, the presynaptic terminal of that particular axon, that the synaptic vesicles, and this is the sarcolemma. So a neurotransmitter, acetylcholine, released by the neuromuscular junction, and it generates the action potentials in the sarcolemma. The action potentials spread through the muscle fiber, and then after we continued the story, that if you remember, I said to you earlier classes that the sarcolemma invaginate in the form of T tubule and T tubule to the cisternae of sarcoplasmic reticulum. Then that causes the release of calcium ions into the sarcoplasm. Triad system, we said. So what the calcium ions will do? The calcium ions will make the exposure of the active site. Here you see these are the active sites, which calcium will come and bind with the TNC that makes the troponin, tropomyosin complex to be lift over on tropomyosin actin complex, and that make the exposure of active site. If I say like this faster even, I think you can visualize. The calcium binds with a subunit of troponin and actin filament and remove the masking of active site. That's what I said now. Using the energy from ATP hydrolysis, myosin head binds to the exposed active site on the actin to form a cross bridge. Actomyosin complex, we say cross bridge, which pulls the actin filament towards the center of A band, towards the center of A band. The jet line attached to these actins also pulled inward, so the sarcomere shortens, contraction. I band gets shortened, A band retain the length. So this is the diagram from textbook that most times you'll expect this kind of diagram. Then at the time you see the difference. Head zone is there, head zone is no more. That means it is contracted, contracting, completely contracted. Head zone will disappear. The length of I band will be decreased. You see here. There is no length of decrease in A band. That you can even check it out. The myosin releases the ADP and phosphate ion and goes back to its relaxed state. A new ATP binds and the cross bridge is broken. The ATP is again hydrolyzed by the myosin head and the cycle of cross bridge formation and the breakage is repeated, causing further sliding. So what that happens to that particular calcium ions when the relaxation required? That when calcium ions are pumped back to the sarcoplasmic cisternae, the actin filaments are again masked. This causes the return of jet lines back to their original position. What is call it as relaxation. So the reaction time of fibers vary in different muscles. Repeated activation of the muscle lead to the accumulation of the lactic acid that we discussed yesterday. It causes muscle fatigue. This is due to anaerobic breakdown of glycogen in muscle. So finally, we are closing that muscle contraction with this red muscle and white muscle, which is a very regular area, maybe small paragraph, but a very regular area in a NEET examination in point of view. Red color due to the presence of myoglobin. White color is due to the lesser amount of myoglobin. Plenty of mitochondria in red muscle fiber. Plenty of mitochondria is a very important point to remember. White muscle fiber. Small amount of mitochondria. Aerobic metabolism is possible in red muscle fiber. It lies large amount of oxygen. Then anaerobic metabolism in white muscle fiber. Slow and sustained contraction. Then in white muscle fiber, fast contraction for short period. That's it. That's about the red muscle and white muscle fibers and the story of muscle contraction. We are completed actually. Then this is the last session. We